If podcasts were telephone calls, this one would be the one coming from inside the house. On the podcast known as
Trapped Under Plastic, the podcast where overcomplication of information is only overshadowed by clever fart jokes while talking about miniature painting. Nice. I think I said overshadowed instead of overshadowed.
Just shattered. I don't know. Isn't that a Rolling Stone song?
I don't. You're asking me, bro?
Oh.
You think I know music?
You know, that really was a pretty good synopsis of our podcast in one sentence.
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge fan of overcomplicating everything.
Yeah. And great fart jokes.
That's mostly you. I think I'm the overcomplicated one, and you're the fart jokes one, right?
Right. There really is the yin and the yang.
Yeah, it's the dichotomy of Trapped Under Plastic, right?
Yeah. What are you drinking today?
We're drinking a Diet DP. Let me crack a cold one for the viewers and the listeners.
For the boys.
Oh.
I got a Zoa energy drink.
All right. First time for Zoa?
No, I bought a case of this at Costco, so I hope it's good.
I hope so as well. Let's get into the Preamble Ramble. I had my third session of my Star Wars RPG D&D thing, and I feel like I keep experiencing new things.
Yes.
And the new thing this time is that, I don't know how it works in D&D, but in the Star Wars RPG, there is like, let's call it 30 or 40 skills, okay? Like, I imagine in D&D, obviously you have like strength and like magical capability and like all this stuff. But in Star Wars, they really drill it down to like cunning and leadership and mechanical ability with computers, mechanical ability with like engines, like planetary vehicle, like galactic vehicle skills. Like, so they really break it down a lot.
Intergalactic, planetary, intergalactic.
I don't know that one either. What is that?
That's Beastie Boys.
Oh, okay. But a comment that one of my players made, because we spent some time spending experience after this last session, because upgrading stuff.
Oh yeah, baby.
And you can upgrade your skills. You can rank your skills up. And someone was like, it seems like we mostly use these 5 things, and it just so happens those 5 things are most attached to combat, right? And so I'm trying to figure out how do I inspire players to approach situations in unique ways to really stretch like all of the skills they have available to them in their game and use the skills that are relevant to the characters. Some characters aren't really combat focused people, and they have other strengths that they never really get to use. And I don't know the best way to encourage the usage of those skills.
Well, the first thing I would do is take a look at what their character sheets show and make a note to yourself of the skills that the certain players have that aren't combat focused and find a way to be proactive in weaving those in a little bit. So not only do the group as a whole start to see the value of non-combat skills, but also you get these small moments to shine for the people that didn't go full murder hobo in their build. Another fun thing that I like to do is put them in a situation where they can't just use their combat skills, and someone will maybe do a good amount of role playing and really creative thinking, and they come up with something that is not really on their character sheet. Maybe it's not tied to skills. Maybe even you do this whole situation where you don't have them roll, right? You don't worry about what's on the sheet. And then as a small reward, you can be like, your character had this aha moment where he realized this situation, and I'm going to reward you 1 skill rank in the skill that was associated to the thing that they did. So they get this small victory of a skill point and things that they're saying, well, we don't really use these things often. Well, if they don't use them often, it's not like you're breaking his character by giving him a skill point in this. But now he's going to maybe look at that more as an option in these other situations. There's no easy answer, and all of this requires you to do a little bit of pre-planning and a little bit of on-the-fly work, which can be a heavy lift in the midst of a session.
Yeah. That's fair. But yeah, having like quick little entries on each player, like a little synopsis of like their like top 3 or 4 things like they want to do or how they want to solve a problem. That seems like that could be pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to the rule book yesterday, and there's actually a skills section, and it like in depth describes every single skill, when it applies, how you can use it to solve problems, and like other like relevant things to the mechanics of the game. And it was like super inspiring. Excuse me. like for the deception skill, it was like one way you could use this skill is by like if someone's chasing you, you could try to lay a false trail so the pursuer would follow that trail and not follow you. And I was like, holy shit! Like I would have never thought to like use that skill in that way. You know, I would just like I would just stand and deliver and just like kill the guy who's like chasing me, right? Because that's what everyone wants to do in an RPG. But yeah, but like so basically you're saying one thing is incentivizing people to use those skills and also making note of people's skills so that I can bring them up in situations where relevant.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Very cool.
That's what I would do. But third session went well other than that, though?
Absolutely. Yeah, we did a longer combat encounter with kind of a big bad, an ISB security officer. And then and like his goons, he had like 4 armed goons, and that was fun. And then, yeah, I had a bunch of experience that we had like kind of accrued since that first session and the last one. And no one's been like spending it because they don't really like know how to super well. So we took some time to kind of like invest back in the characters, buy some new force abilities, rank some talents up.
I get some excited for the next session, too.
Yeah.
Anytime you get new toys to play with.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hyped for the next one.
Speaking of RPGs, I forgot to talk about this last recording, but we played Soulbound with my D&D group, which is the Age of Sigmar role-playing game. We did a one-shot. My buddy Blair DM'd it for us, and none of us knew the system. Not even Blair. He had a grasp on it, and I did a quick read through, and so did Drew. And so we kind of had a vague understanding. And there's something to be said. I really enjoy going into a new game with a new game system where you don't have it all figured out. Specifically in an RPG, I feel like it's more clunky in a miniature war game. It like slows everything down if you can't kind of like move relatively quickly. But it's a game system that uses a lot of D6s. The actual movement system seems fairly similar to your Star Wars RPG. There's zones, but how it's different from Star Wars is instead of it being like so many zones away from your point, which is how I think Star Wars works, it's in relation to where your character is.
Yeah.
Here it's like they just have big blocks on the board that are zones, and you can basically move freely within your zone.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you played the Middle-earth battle game. What's it called?
The actual war game?
No, it's a board.
Journeys into Middle-earth?
Journeys into Middle-earth.
Yeah.
Remember that game had like zones?
Yeah.
So it basically works just like that.
Okay, kind of like Risk as well. Like you just put your okay, cool. Yeah, you're right in thinking that Star Wars is more like relative based on where you are, and not necessarily like things you can just like kind of like go into. So yeah. Okay.
There's things about the game that I think are interesting. I don't understand their design philosophy of the game, where it is very miniatures light. In fact, very easy to play the Age of Sigmar RPG without miniatures. And it feels fairly shallow in terms of strategy and options when you're using miniatures, which we did. And it was like, this is a Warhammer game?
Wait, so you're saying that in using miniatures that limited your options?
It didn't limit them. It made clear how few options you had.
Okay.
It kind of like pulled the veil back of how shallow the game was.
Okay.
Because in each character you had one ability. And then it reminded me as well, because this is the pre-made adventure thing that you run through that came with the box, and how much like complex need to know about the lore and the bullshittery that's happening in the story of the world of Age of Sigmar, that you're like, I just want to like start at an inn and we're just townsfolk and kill some rats. Like, let me start smaller. It's so high fantasy. It's like, I can't, like my theater of the mind can't even keep up.
So it's like, it's a one shot and it requires all this like narrative, like baggage to figure out what's going on.
There's so much baggage. And like even the baggage around like who your characters are and what is soulbound, it's like a 5-paragraph essay on like what every single character is. And are you bound to Sigmar, or are you bound to some other force? And what does that mean to be soulbound? And how does that work within the thing? And you're basically all immortal, but you still can die. But then if you do die, your effigy will bring you back, and your soul will be re-soulbound within the soulbound constraints. And I'm just like, fuck my life. I don't care. I just want to be a tree man with a big bow.
Which that's what you were, right?
That's what I was.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
I was the Kurnoth hunter.
So were you like speaking in like tree voices?
I have the coolest thing because we use pre-made characters. Like you want to set the entry level low, and they have like a couple little sections about like interesting things that your character has on you. And mine said you have an owl that lives in your branches, and you have a squirrel that lives in your limbs. And I spent most of the session just having my little animal friends do small tasks for me.
That's amazing. What did they do for you?
Like, it didn't say. It was just one sentence. That's all it said. It didn't say if they had abilities. It didn't say if I could. I have ability to commune with animals, so I assumed I could commune with them.
Yeah.
So basically what I did was one of the dudes was like a Sigmar priest. He wasn't a Sigmarine. He was like Cities of Sigmar dude.
Okay, yeah.
And he had a Griffhound that was actually like a combatant thing.
Okay.
So I fashioned from leaves and leather straps a small saddle. And my squirrel rode the Griffhound into battle.
Yes.
Did he do anything? Nope. But that's what I spend my time with in RPGs is that kind of stuff.
But is your group like down to like kind of have fun and kind of like make fun of what's going on every now and then?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the same with mine. Like I had like those 4 armed security guards, and somehow throughout the process we discovered that they were all a family of 4, and it was it was like dad and mom and like Jimmy and Bobby, and it was just like just dumb shit like that, just because it's just funny.
The whole family tree stands before you.
Yeah. And like my players, like they're supposed to be light side force users, and like there are certain things that Jedi are supposed to do, but they're just like chopping bitches in half with like swords and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of it's a wild time.
They're gonna have to face the High Council at some point.
Yeah, so like there's a mechanic in the game called morality that like determines like how good and evil you are, and you gain conflict each session based on doing things like stealing from someone or torturing someone or unprovoked violence of any kind. Like you'll gain a certain amount of conflict, and then based on that amount, you roll a die at the end of the session. You'll gain or lose morality. And so in the last session in particular, 2 players lost quite a bit of morality due to like the insane violence that they committed. But yeah, it was fun.
So in the game, is morality tied to did anybody catch you, or is it just like a universal thing that like it doesn't matter if anyone saw you?
Yeah, it's a universal thing. So like you could gain like a very small way to gain conflict is by lying, for instance. And even if you lie, you'll still gain like 1 conflict. If you like assault someone who didn't provoke you, you'll gain 5 conflict. If you murder someone, you'll gain 10 or more conflict depending on the situation. So it's like a scale, but it doesn't matter if you get caught or not.
It's like they're just saying that Jesus is always watching.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yoda Jesus up in there, it's guy. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
He's watching.
I think one fun way to think about that would be like the way you're gaining and losing conflict or going up and down in this bar is the fact that your companions are around. So that's a way that there's always someone that's seeing and evaluating who you are.
Right, yeah. There's actually a moment when another player wanted to go and kill one of the guards walked away because he didn't want to like keep fighting. He was the last one left alive.
Poor Bobby.
I know. And one of the characters is particularly like angry and aggressive, and they were chasing that person down to kill them. And the other players actually like came together to stop the one like mad woman who was going to chase this person down because they were trying to like be more aligned with like what their characters are supposed to be. So that was kind of a cool moment, a cool role-playing moment. Where they're trying to actually be the people like that are on their character sheet. So I just kind of appreciated that.
Wow. For a second, you said her, and I just envisioned, because I know that Amber isn't playing in your campaign, but I just envisioned in that moment that Amber is the bloodthirsty barbarian of the group, and she's just so angry.
Yeah.
I don't envision her playing that kind of character, but it made it funnier in my head.
Yeah.
Just seeing red.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could see Amber doing that for sure.
She's
so
like,
Soulbound, would you recommend or not?
No.
Okay.
The other thing that really I struggled with is like I don't see the world. I have enough years of experience in digging into the books a little bit more. I don't see the game scaling well. Like I feel like you'd realize that this is the kind of it's the kind of Easter candy. If RPGs are an Easter candy, this game is the giant chocolate bunny Easter candy. because it's hollow on the inside. You're like giant chocolate bunny, and you take a bite, and you're like, first of all, it tastes like wax, not like chocolate. And second of all, it's hollow on the inside.
That's so sad.
Dude, I want it like filled with runts or nerds.
Runts?
Yeah, nerds. Nerds. I take it back, nerds.
Nerds? Like a whole chocolate bunny filled with nerds?
Yeah, so you just like, toss, you chew on the ear, and then you can just chug the nerds out of the ear hole.
They would just spill all out everywhere. It'd be insane.
Man, you've never lived until you chug nerds out of an ear hole. No, would not recommend. We might go back and do it again. We had fun. Like, it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think a part of that is just kind of like freeing yourself from the rules and stuff and just having fun playing the game. And it was a high fantasy game too, which there's not a lot of those out there that I've played anyway. And so like just coming up with the most like bullshit, but you can justify it by some like ridiculous lore reasons that no one can question you on because no one understands it. You know, Ariel told me a secret last night. She had a little spore creep up into my roots.
They have a lot of like worms, right? And like insects in like the Sylvaneth range.
Yeah.
You have like some MIG climb into like your ear and like infest your brain and like possess the tree a little bit. Yeah.
Right. She told me that actually the whole purpose of our entire group's journey is to ensure that my squirrel, whose name is Nutters, to ensure that Nutters is actually the chosen one.
Dude, is the owl named Butters, dude?
No, he's Hoots.
Okay.
It's Hoots and Nutters. She told me that Nutters is actually the chosen one that will save the universe from chaos.
Okay.
And that the whole point is to make sure that Nutters reaches the holy pinnacle. I don't know what the holy pinnacle is yet, but that's what she told me.
Okay. So did Nutters end up fighting any rat men?
Yes. So what happened is that the Griffhound jumped in and bit one with his beak, and Nutters was in the moment, and so he just flung his body, all of his being, onto the face of the rat. Now, mechanically, he did nothing.
Okay.
But it created a scene where that was the whole reason why the Griffhound ripped the entrails out of his clan rat, was because he couldn't see. He had a squirrel on his face.
Absolutely.
Couldn't fight back, left his stomach open, and broop, he just like came out like a piñata.
Okay. Some hot rodent on rodent action.
Yes. So yeah, it's just it. Sometimes it's like, man, these are kind of my cousins. But it was really awesome though, because I brought all of my painted models, all of the Skaven that I've been painting for my army, and that's what Blair used for all of our bad guys. Like the big bad boss fight at the end was a Grey Seer who was nasty, like summoning prayers and shit and casting arcane bolt on us, and then a rat ogre, and then a bunch of clan rats. So it was this big like all out scuffle and stuff, and the rat ogre was no fucking joke. The actual combat of the rolling to hit and it was like old school Warhammer Fantasy where it's like if your combat score is tied with theirs, you force hit. If it's 1 better, it's 3. It's 2 better, it's 2. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So and that actually moved pretty smoothly in the way that I really enjoyed it compared to traditional D&D and Pathfinder was that like it more like highlighted the fact that you could be good in both your combat score and adding bonuses to your defense and combat score as a way of damage mitigation, as well as your health point pool, because those aren't as kind of like separately valuable in D&D as much as this game seemed to be. It seemed to like, it allowed more diversity in what kind of a defensive character you were.
Oh, okay.
Because the Rat Ogre was fairly easy to hit, but he was just a mound of hit points. And as he took damage, he became more and more enraged. And so it just, that part of it, like I could see how enemies, the uniqueness of enemies could be a real strong suit of that game. I think we're going to play it again at some point. We're switching over to Joshy's running a Pathfinder campaign. It's basically Bloodsport. You ever watch the movie Bloodsport?
No, I haven't.
It's a 80s action kung fu movie where like all these people, all the greatest kung fu people from around the world get together like every 4 years or something for the Bloodsport. It's a giant tournament.
Okay.
It's a tournament to determine who is the best kung fu artist. It's basically that, but you're in teams.
Okay.
So we're doing a campaign with that. So
Yeah, I feel like if there's any genre where I'm like lacking the most on, it's definitely like the martial arts genre.
you need to get into a Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Fuck, Steven Seagal? That's the first guy you bring up?
Yeah, dude.
Not Jackie Chan?
No. Okay. I didn't grow up on Jackie Chan. I grew up on white guys that like they stood on the shoulders of the true martial artists.
Yeah, I think I can count on one hand the number of martial arts movies I've seen. Ip Man, Ong Bak, Raid Redemption, or The Raid, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And that's literally it. Those 4 movies I think I've seen.
Yeah, Jet Li was great too, but he became popular in the U.S. after. Kind of same with Jackie Chan. In the U.S. in the 80s, you had Steven Seagal, you had Chuck Norris, you had Van Damme. Those are kind of your big 3, and those dudes are fucking ballers, dude. The greatest thing about all of them, I mean, you could make the argument with Seagal or not, is they're all like actually really good martial artists. So they're actually like, tournament winning, really good martial artists.
Steven Seagal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now he's old and fat and crazy, but then he was just young, fat, and crazy.
Okay.
but
capable.
You need to watch Under Siege. Watch Under Siege. Okay.
Is it like so bad it's good?
That's actually a good movie.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's also bad, but it's good.
Okay.
Because he plays the same character in every movie, but it's on a fucking submarine. Karate submarine.
It's called Under Siege?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. When the fucking, I think it's Russians. I'm assuming it's Russians.
It's got to be Russians, yeah.
When the Russians infiltrate your ship with a bunch of their special ops dudes from a submarine, and you got to go into the submarine. Don't worry about how you get in the submarine.
No.
You're going to get there. You're Steven Seagal.
Yeah, I just want to see him like no scuba equipment, and just swimming on the outside of a scuba tank, and he just like goes through the wall, kind of just like melds through it. Yeah, that's kind of how I imagine a Steven Seagal movie typically goes. Never seen one.
Yeah, you need to put her on your list. It's a great like late night just chilling and just want to laugh and have fun, but also some really awesome action sequences. There's a movie too where I think it's Van Damme. He does the splits between 2 semis.
Oh, that's classic.
Yeah, that are going down the highway together.
Yeah.
It's like a training montage.
Yeah, he like redid that shot for like the Olympics or like for the Super Bowl or something like that, like in his old age, which is pretty cool. All right, anyways, if you're keeping score, good PPs, this is the first topic in the Preamble Ramble, which is the first segment of the podcast. So
okay, let's keep it moving.
Yeah, we got a high score right now.
I know. I did want to mention real quick because we were talking about movies, and we're not going to talk about it much, but I watched The King.
Yes.
This is a Netflix movie starring Timothy Chalamet. And it's the story of like King Henry the somethingeth.
I'm trying to figure out who directed this movie. I forgot.
I hadn't even heard it. Didn't even know it existed. Looking through Netflix for stuff to download to watch on the plane, and I came across this. I'm like, this is fucking my bag right here. And that movie's heavy.
It goes hard. Yeah.
It goes hard, and you can tell that it's like based, at least somewhat based on a true story, because it doesn't tell like this nice, clean, overarching story that comes full circle.
Okay.
But it's totally worth a watch.
Absolutely.
I love me some low fantasy kind of, and it's not fantasy, but it's like historic medieval.
Right. Yeah. It's very gritty.
Yeah, it's very gritty.
It's like a super desaturated color palette as well. If you like that movie, a very similar movie in that kind of same genre but tells a different story is called The Duel, like a recent Ridley Scott movie.
I watched that one too.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Okay. I kind of definitely lumped those two together a little bit.
I need to watch that again though. That one's even more kind of like heartbreaking for the characters.
Yeah. That's a very sad story. Yeah.
The characters is like, oh gosh, and you could feel it like 30 minutes into that movie. I'm like, no, this isn't gonna end well.
yeah. Not for like anyone in that movie. Yeah, it doesn't really end super well.
But it's a great movie. Okay, off of movies. You wrote down PAX U.
PAX U. So me and Amber, this is actually Amber's idea, are gonna go to the Penny Arcade Expo Unplugged. So I've been very like aware of Penny Arcade, like the comic book series for a long time, but was never a reader of the original comic book. And then I really first discovered the whole IP when I heard of PAX East, the video game conference. And then later in life, discovered PAX Unplugged, which is like their more analog kind of board game event, which happens in the beginning of December in Philadelphia. So me and Amber are going to go to that for one day, and then we're going to spend one day in Philadelphia on the weekend. And we're going to check out some board games, maybe get some Star Wars Unlimited con exclusives.
Maybe you gotta get them con exclusives.
I know, demo some games. Like I don't really even know what goes on at PAX Unplugged. And kind of serendipitously, I got an email from PAX Unplugged saying, "Hey, if you are going to the event, sign up for a creator badge." And so I did that. I have no idea what that entails me to. But yeah, I'm excited for checking that out.
You get to go to the lounge.
Right. Yeah.
There's gonna be like a variety of yogurt related items.
It's like that room that's like it's like attached to Fort Wapple, like at the end of the room, which is kind of like everyone's just shit is in there. It's like,
and there's like a random thing of Sam's Club muffins.
Yeah, like in a conference room, and that's it. Right.
Yeah. There's not actually a place to sit because everyone's shit is on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I imagine so. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really excited. I'm just gonna, when I hear about how it went, it's gonna make me want to go even more. I so want to go. It's so my jam. I think one key of that is like, I need to convince my daughter to go with me.
Yeah, I think that could be a lot of fun, actually.
I know, just trying out games and playing games and seeing all sorts of stuff, and maybe not so heavy into the mini painting side, so kind of feel, like that, because I don't think my wife would ever want to go to anything cool.
Yeah, it's definitely not a miniature painting thing and more of a board game thing, which I know isn't everyone's like speed in the wargaming hobby, but definitely is my speed. And so yeah, I'm looking for kind of a little bit of a different experience.
Yeah, and as you know, like I have a board game night every Saturday. I play miniature board games.
Still doing Oathsworn?
What?
Still doing Oathsworn?
Still doing Oathsworn. We're like level, I think 12 now. I think it caps at 20. Okay. So the end is in sight. But god damn it, this game still scales so amazingly well. Every boss fight is so unique and so much fun, and you've got to have strategy.
And it's all boss fights.
Everything is a boss fight.
I need to play this game,
dude. It is the best of all the games that I've played so far. God, I love it. I mean, I'm not saying it's better than Kingdom Death, because Kingdom Death is its own monster. It's so different, but it's like Kingdom Death if you like wanted to take off a lot of the administrative duties.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, I really like that game, and it makes you so excited what we're gonna do next. So yeah, so that's another reason. It's like, I play a lot of these, and I feel like I have more of a finger on the pulse now.
Okay.
And so I'm more excited to do those things and jump in a one-off RPG session at something like that too would be fun.
What do you mean?
At like PAX U.
Oh, okay. I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, there's like so many different events going on and panels going on. Mm-hmm. Like I told Amber that I could probably like spend a whole another day at the con just like going and sitting in on like panels of like really interesting discussions of like developers or other content creators or like whatever it may be. Like I have no idea what the options are. Actors, I have no idea.
My next thing on the list is a short one, but it's actually tied to what we were talking about with the King and the Duel. Something about the old timiness burns within me. And that is why I love starting fires. It's fire season, baby.
Nice. Wow.
Fire season in Minnesota.
Can we get some applause for John connecting those two threads? That was incredible.
Yeah, because they don't even have electricity. They just have to burn fire or like their own shit. I don't know what they burn in medieval times, but I have a wood burning fireplace. I actually have two, one in my downstairs that I never use, and one on the main floor. And I just like to put one leg up on the stone hearth and just have the fire blazing.
Yeah. And you have like your sword like right here and your hand resting on the pommel, kind of just sitting like there. Yeah, and you got some sexy lady right off to the back.
Yeah, heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Oh yeah, Conan, baby.
Right? Yeah, that is it. I have like my fire poker. Yeah. I'll walk around the whole house with a fire poker over my shoulder.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's something like primal.
Yeah, absolutely. The fire tender.
Yes, I am the tender of the fire. These embers will glow for eternity.
Yes.
Or until my half-brother slays me.
That's some sick Viking backstory. Yeah.
That's all I had to say. I like starting fires in this fire season in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah. We're getting cold. It's getting cold.
As soon as we get that little crisp in the air, and my daughter knows, she's like, is it time for the first fire? And I'm like, it's fucking time. It's time. I'm out there, chopping wood. I have outside, I built an open-air fire shed. So it doesn't have walls, but it's got a slanted roof. tin roof on it, corrugated tin, and then it's got 4x4 posts, and it's all open air. And I like to age my wood 2 to 3 years before I split it, and I have a rotation and all this. And
it's operation.
Yeah, man, it's fun. It's also a great workout in the winter too. So
nice.
So yeah, fire. Well, you have something.
Yes, much like it is fire season.
Connected.
There is a fire lit under me.
Got there
to produce content weekly. I haven't made weekly content in a long time, and it turns out it's very difficult. I am struggling. Like right now, you came in when I was editing the video that's supposed to go out on Monday, and I'm just now really like cracking into like the hard part of the edit, doing like the intro and like putting all the B-roll and sound effects in and stuff like that. It's like the real meat of the actual editing process. So I'm behind, like just to shorten that explanation. And it's tough, like, I have like plans on the weekends, like my like family are coming this weekend, and Valbjorn's coming next weekend, and the previous weekend we were at Vince's house, so the weekend isn't like an opportunity to like kind of finish up some of that work, and so it's stressful, bro. It's stressful. I have to relearn the appropriate amount of like scope for a video project to fit it inside of a week. I thought I estimated it well for this first month, and I did not. And so I'm going to have to kind of retune some of my ideas about like, what I can talk about in a video, like how big the topic can be and how long the video is. Like that's another thing is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's like if you ever like look at the word count of a script, you get an idea kind of about what the length of the video is going to be.
Yep.
And so like I know when I'm at a certain word count, like this is going to be a 15-minute video at least, or a 20-minute video, or a 10-minute video. And so like looking at the word count, trying to trim it down so it's shorter. Like it's like it feels bad to like remove info from a video, but it's like just so I can like actually edit it on time and not have to like work like longer than I want to and not stress out and stuff. But yeah, all this to say, I used to be able to make a video a week. That was a skill that I had, and I have kind of lost it. I'm having to relearn it. It's a tough journey sometimes.
I think you very much still have the tool set and the skill to do that.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a matter of, it's one of those things you don't think about when you're in your standard groove, and it's good to be in a groove to not get overwhelmed and stressed all the time, of like you knowing what you need to accomplish in a given day. So what I do is I break it down of how many days I have to make this video, and then I have my expectations of I need to be to this point in the process at the end of each work day. And that way I kind of can allow myself to not get overly stressed, from the evening, from dinner time until the next morning. And I think that that's a really healthy thing to have. It's like, well, I'm not going to dig into the minutia of each of the things. I'm just going to be like, by the end of today, I need to have written my whole script, and I need to have shot in all the B-roll or whatever. And then the next day, I need to be able to record everything, and I need to, like write the ad spot or whatever. Like, as long as I can chunk that out. And then it's a matter of like, because you're working with a different amount of days now, that's where it gets tough, because like you don't necessarily know, right? So you kind of have to refine that groove of what is the expectation in a given work day, to then not have to rely on weekends or very much weekends and stuff. And as you aren't familiar with it, or kind of relearning how to work best with the amount of time you have, you end up bleeding over into those evenings because you're just not sure, or you didn't get as far because it's a different process. So. Yeah,
and you're exactly right about that. It's like it would be great to like know like how long each step in the process takes. But I don't have an understanding of that because I didn't have to think about that in the past. I would just do a thing until completion and then go on to the next thing, right? And if I wanted to take some extra time in a given step, I could. But now I have to like, I have to think about it in like time units. I have a day and a half to do the rough edit. I have a day to do these other items, and I have to think about it that way. So I don't know if you feel this way, but like it changes like everything about like how I am in a day is impacted by this like weekly schedule. Like when I go home to walk my dogs, I am thinking about like how I'm going to find time to edit this video and keep this forward momentum. And it's like, I'm thinking about it like all the time. Like it's more inescapable when I have like this looming deadline.
Yeah. I absolutely know that feeling. I think that it's a matter of finding the middle ground where you don't have to think that all the time. You're going to do that as you find the rhythm, and determining what is your your rate for putting out videos. Whether it's I've come to 3 a month, where it's like I do weekly. I do one this week, one next week, and then a week off. Then 2 weeks, then 1 week off, and it gives me some time on that one video to get take a little bit more time on the painting side. But it's a reminder too, is like the short week videos where it's just like I feel like a little bit frazzled, and you have to have a video idea that you can pull together quicker. I inevitably feel like, oh no, that means it's going to be a worse video, and that is not the case. That is not the case. Less time does not equate to a lesser quality video. And that's the one thing that I really have to remind myself. It's like a good idea, the core of what it is, the core of what the video is, the 40 hours of work on that video does not change much if that 40 hours was turned into 60 hours. I have to remind myself of that. And it's like the extra time just, sometimes it can make you feel better, but it doesn't always make it a more compelling thing in those 2 minutes of playtime that someone's watching it and the extra things you could have done with it. Sometimes it does matter, but sometimes it's just like, no, if it's a really interesting idea, that's going to take you a long ways. So
Absolutely.
I have to remind myself of that, because otherwise I always feel like I could be doing more, and that's unhealthy.
Yeah. I think the best content is the kind of content that resonates with your audience, like a thing that they really want, they're really interested in, and stuff like that. Like if you find a topic like that, like the trimming and the packaging on the outside doesn't really matter, it's going to do really well no matter what.
Quick review on the Zoa frosted grape flavor. It tastes like a cough drop in grape Kool-Aid had a baby. It's not a very attractive baby.
Yeah. I feel like whenever you describe like a drink as like cough medicine, that's kind of not good.
Yeah, there's some funk going on in this.
Medicinal.
Note to self. But you've been staying on top of it as much as you don't maybe feel like your head's above water.
Well, the thing that's so intoxicating about YouTube is YouTube shows you very clearly that when you sacrifice your body at the altar of YouTube, everything goes up. Right. Every metric
number go up.
Every metric on my channel is literally green right now, and even metrics associated with YouTube but not YouTube itself also go up. And I've just made 2 videos in a row. Like that's literally it. Now, granted, they did perform well. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But yeah, it was, for me, it was immediate. The improvement in performance. So.
Right. I say that like this was your second video of a week and then a week, and it was a 1 out of 10 for you.
It was, yeah.
You want low numbers. It's like golf for us when we say I'm out of 10.
Yeah, I actually said that. I made a post. I was like, YouTube thinks this video is a 1 out of 10. Like, what do you think? And everyone was like, oh man, fuck YouTube. I loved it. And it was like, no, this is a good thing. This is a good thing, guys.
Yeah, that means it's the number 1 performer of your last 10 videos.
But it is confusing to say 1 out of 10. Yeah.
But that's a really good thing, because if this one, you're trying to crank out week after week, and then you get like 8 out of 10, then a 10 out of 10 or whatever, it can deflate you.
Yeah.
And it can make you whatever. So at least you have some positive momentum. But I also, like in those situations too, I try to tell myself, I need to also treat this. Everyone have a little bit in the back of my head. If this is a 10 out of 10, that's okay. I'm happy with the product that I created, and I'm happy because it's true to my channel and it's true to me. And that's how you get through the rough weeks, really.
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, I'm wondering I don't know if you can remember the last time you got a 1 out of 10 very distinctly, but it happened recently to me, so I have a memory of it. Like, that the video came out and it got a 1 out of 10, and I was like, this could have more views, Yeah. Like, and then immediately I took a step back outside of myself, and I was like, what am I saying?
Right.
Like, when is it this good enough?
Right.
And then I was like, okay, clearly it's never good enough, so I should just not give a shit about what the fucking score of the video is in the YouTube app, because I'm never satisfied with the performance of a video unless it's like an insane amount of views. Like if I got like 1 million views in a week, I'd be like shitting myself.
Right.
But like that's not gonna happen. And so like, but I did make a well-performing video, and I still wasn't happy. Yeah. Have you ever noticed this about yourself?
Yeah, I actually think that's actually a really a positive trait to have.
I think it is. Yeah.
Not being satisfied or healthy, because that's what
okay.
I'm not healthy.
I disagree.
I think not being satisfied, if you can keep it in check and not let it drown you, is a good thing, because it's a desire, it's a push. Right?
Absolutely.
I want to improve. I want to get better. I want to, create something that people will really enjoy. And it's not like when you say the 1 million views in a week, for that to happen, your video would have to actually be a thing that's less related to miniature painting.
Probably, yeah.
And then you'd be like, who am I, simping out to do this?
The wider general audience of YouTube,
Right. And so, we have to stay in our lane a little bit and just be happy. But yes, I'm always the same way. I'm like, fuck, this is 1 out of 10, but I thought it would have 100,000 views in 2 days, and it only has 70,000. And I'm like, John, what the fuck are you talking about?
This is good enough.
If it was before I started recording the painting for this video 2 weeks ago, if I would have told myself you would have, X these views in 2 days, would you be happy? I've been like, yeah, because I hadn't done the work yet. But after you do the work, you're like, but no!
Like, that was so much work. Yeah.
No! Yeah. Okay, content. The last thing I want to talk about... Content. Is there's a different kind of fire burning on the internet.
There is.
And that is... it's Golden Demon season. Golden Demon at Spiel just happened last weekend, which was really fortuitous, leading into, and maybe we kind of fold this into a bit of our main topic, because it went on while we were at Vincey-Con.
Yeah.
See, we got the play-by-play of pieces being revealed, people showing on the socials what their pieces were, people having pictures and videos from the event, getting the cuts down and stuff. We were kind of keeping our thumb on the pulse of all that. And then, of course, it's Golden Demon, so no, not everyone can be happy. In fact, almost nobody can be happy when you look at the numbers of entries compared to Golden Demon trophies. And so there's, frustration and anger, and why did this get something and why didn't this get something and all that. And I've come to realize over the last... This is probably Golden Demon, somewhere between 4 and 6, that I've been more paying attention and really following the news, the drama, the feedback, and the videos and all that, which there's more and more of than ever before. YouTube videos from content creators about Golden Demon. And I don't want to pat myself on the back on this. But there was somebody that did that first, completely scared that it was not going to work and no one was going to watch my videos on making Golden Demon stuff and making videos about it. And it's a thing people like, and thank God, because there's no way I could compete in Golden Demon without making videos of the process, because I wouldn't have the time. I still don't have the time that a lot of these guys put into it. But yeah, so it's great. I think that it's exciting that more people are interested, and that means that more people are exposed to competition painting, whether they want to participate or they just want to follow the fucking drama. Either way is good, but we saw the drama, and it's that's the shitty thing. The more popular it gets, the more the water level rises on the quality of painters, and this is kind of my overarching statement. I'm not going to say anything more. The more this stuff is going to happen, because things are going to slip through the cracks, and not everyone that painted an amazing model will get through every level, and that sucks. And especially someone that's dumb enough that chooses to compete in this, that could very well be me, and I'll feel differently because it's me. But it sucks, and it's kind of the nature of the beast. It's part of the exclusivity, and the true honor of winning a demon is knowing that there's so many factors that go into it, and one of those is luck. All right, goody peepees, we just had a small sidebar, a council of the wizards, as it were, and we decided that we're going to dig in deeper into Golden Demon and Golden Demon drama in the main topic as it relates to what we did last weekend, and we're going to talk more in the main topic.
Before that main topic, let's do a brief message from today's sponsor, FlexiSpot. As I'm sure you all can imagine, we as YouTubers spend a lot of time at the desk, whether it's painting miniatures, editing videos, or doing paperwork. And desk time can be associated with a lot of health issues, be it obesity or other problems in our world today.
And let's be honest, miniature painters, ourselves included, aren't known for having the best posture at the painting desk. which, as I'm sure we all know, isn't good for our back long term. Luckily, there's a pretty simple solution in getting your desk to the right height so your back can be nice and straight, which is dead easy with today's sponsor, FlexiSpot, and their E7pro Premium Standing Desk.
With the E7pro installed and all set up, one can change their working position at the push of a button.
The desk's motors are smooth and shouldn't cause any paint cup spillage.
Not only can this absolute unit lift 440 pounds, it does so with this beastly frame made out of automotive-grade steel and with thickened legs. These beefy boys keep the E7pro steady as she goes.
And luckily for all of us mini painters, this monster of a desk should be able to support even your most unhinged painting sessions. If you were to break it, FlexiSpot's 15-year warranty has you covered, but maybe don't use it like a jungle gym like Scott here.
The E7pro has a nifty little control panel right here that includes up and down buttons for more micro adjustments, but also memory for 4 unique presets, like a preset for building models.
Or maybe one for painting.
Or if your hobby chair is from 2006 like me, maybe you want to have a preset for a standing height. FlexiSpot also has chairs on offer as well, if that's more your speed.
FlexiSpot also has you covered with all kinds of accessories that are compatible with the E7 Pro, like the cable management mesh and drawers to go along with their line of desks. And if you're still not sure, they've got a 30-day free return policy. So now that you've decided you want to get an E7 Pro Premium Standing Desk, make sure you use our code down below for an extra $50 off.
Thanks so much to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this portion of today's episode. Now to the main topic. Golden Demon! And then later Vincey-Con.
The goldenest of all the golden demons.
Do you think this is the most dramatic reaction to a Golden Demon competition that we've had in, say, 5-10 years?
I think every golden demon, right after it happens, feels like the most dramatic one.
Yes, there's definitely certain phrases and things you hear on repeat where it's like, this is the most competitive event ever this year, or like there were more entries than ever before, or stuff like that. You always hear that, but I feel like the drama. There's always drama, always a little bit of drama.
Yes,
especially if you're at the event and like
yes.
Shit. But this time, now that we're at Essen and the drama leaked out like even more. Although we did have the whole Neil AI thing, that was kind of dramatic too.
Yeah, I mean, we may be biased, but because we were there,
yeah,
that event seemed more dramatic than this, if I'm being honest.
Sure,
because
sure.
There will always be these pieces got hosed, these pieces didn't even get a commended, these pieces didn't get a pin, these pieces didn't win when they obviously should have won. That's going to happen every year because that's the nature of the beast. And I think the more we're going to be exposed to this every 6 months, from a US one to a UK/EU one, and then back and forth, the more you're kind of in the know on this, the more you see the same storyline keeps repeating itself. And we can talk about that, and I think we probably should, but also at Adepticon last year, we had AI Gate.
We did have AI Gate, but this year we had Lord of the Rings Gate. We had that entry that was beautiful and 3D scanned and sculpted and refined that just got totally hosed, totally DQ'd and not even judged because I can't remember the reason because it was a custom sculpt of a Lord of the Rings property.
Smeagol.
Yeah, it was Smeagol with the one ring holding it over Mount Doom, dude. It was freaking epic. It was painted very atmospherically, lots of red underglow, beautiful.
Yeah, that was a glorious piece. Yes, and so this was what I heard, was that it was disqualified because it wasn't an official Games Workshop sculpt. Therefore, they were worried about copyright infringement because it wasn't something that fell under their ownership of the property.
Okay.
So
that seems a little BS-y, but I don't know the laws and stuff.
Games Workshop was scared that if it was put into the attention that, they could get in trouble from,
right,
I don't know, the family of Tolkien, I don't know, whoever owns that property.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, I kind of see that, but
you're not selling anything,
I believe this is also the piece where the creator asked them prior. Like, he sent pictures.
Oh, that was the other issue. You're right. I remember that.
He asked them ahead of time, and he was like, this is the thing, and blah, 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 because he was kind of like worried that it was
And rightly so, apparently.
And he was given the green light.
Yeah.
by Games Workshop. That is what we learn, is that everything's in silos, and the person that gave you the green light they probably never had any conversation or has anything to do with actually the event of. And
I think that's probably an interesting place to start when talking about Golden Demon is the lack of consistency. Just because there's no ownership, right? Or maybe there is ownership. Maybe they don't have enough power to really kind of pull strings together and make things happen. But I think some degree of consistency could really help Golden Demon to feel more like a real event, an event where maybe it isn't like luck-based and stuff like that. And consistency can come in like so many different like forms, right? It could be consistent judges or a panel of consistent judges. It could be a set of metrics. I'm not even asking for a rubric, but like a list of things to look for and try to paint towards if you want to succeed at Golden Demon. Like, like what we're going to judge you on in each of the categories. And like, if there was just like, and also consistency in process. I feel like every single year, like what award is the most important, whether it's a notable entry, whether it's a commended entry, whether it's a finalist pin, I feel like that hierarchy changes. Because I swear to God, at our event or one of our events, finalist pins was the lowest rung.
Yep.
And then like the cool framed notable entry, commended entry plaque, that was higher up. And that looked cool. And I really liked that. And now people are just getting like, pieces of cardstock with like foil on it, and like, but not like the frame thing that you got.
that was
What's the consistency? What's going on here?
Richard Gray talked about that in his breakdown video from Golden Demon this year, and that was that kind of like a separate add-on. So if you got commended, which is you're in the running for a demon, typically it was like 5 or 6 pieces were in the commended thing. So that's the 5 or 6 that's going to be 3 demons pulled from. You also got this cool little frame that your commended card would go in.
Yeah.
That frame isn't related at all to how you did.
Okay, so there wasn't anything inside the frame.
No, it was just a frame for your commended card.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
And they didn't give him those this year. And Richard was like, "That kind of stinks." And I'm like, "Yeah, they kind of set the precedent of you get this cool little frame to kind of show off. It's almost like you get it's kind of like a trophy because it stands on its own.
Yeah.
And it's showing that commended is truly valuable. It's not somebody's fucking business card."
Right. Exactly. But was I right in remembering that the finalist pin was like the first stage?
See, I'd like to go through and see the exact timeline of this because I can't speak to it with 100% confidence, but this whole journey of the finalist or the commended, the notable, those 3 terms was introduced so haphazardly and undescriptive.
Yeah.
And it's every year at Adepticon because it first showed itself at Adepticon, I believe, 2 years ago. It'll be 3 years this March that they showed that, and it was no explanation.
Yeah.
It was like all the people that are around the cases and people that had pieces in was all trying to like gather this.
Trying to figure out what the fuck it meant.
He said, she said, talk to the guy that was taking them pieces, and he gave me this piece of information, and then I asked.
Doing some sleuthing work.
Yeah, it's all sleuthing. And I'm not, and it's that way in some regard every single year.
Every single year, yeah.
And talking about the stickers. There's always a fucking sticker discussion. What do the stickers mean?
What do the colors mean?
What do the colors in the stickers? Now there's more stickers. There was not as many stickers and all this blah, blah. Like all of this shit. This is the fucking fun. This is what I live for.
Oh, you live for this.
I live for this. Like it's veiled in mystery.
Yeah.
And believe me, it shouldn't be. But that's kind of like this like this air of like, ooh, not knowing. Nobody really knows, and it's part of the excitement building and the fear and the energy that comes around this thing. So this whole system, first of all, it's clear as fucking mud based on the words that you use. It's so terrible that notable, finalist, and commended don't mean anything in the lexicon of language in any of the countries.
Yeah.
And it's not like it'd be like, oh, well, yeah, in the UK, if you win 3rd place at an event at like your school's like track and field day, 3rd place is synonymous with notable. So people would know that. No, nowhere in the history of the world has the words notable meant 3rd, finalist means 2nd, commended mean 1st, like or 4th, 3rd, 2nd. I don't even know. Nobody knows. And they've like flip-flopped them, and they've like slowly made them slightly more in granite, but they're not even close to that. So you don't really know. And because it's like, it's kind of sloppily, it's sloppily explained and sloppily enforced, now we're getting to the point, and we saw that especially this year in Essen, that it's, people are upset about where they place within those rungs, probably rightly so, because I don't think it's clearly defined for the judges either. It feels very shades of gray.
Right, and that's what I'm saying with consistency. I feel like that would be helpful to deliver on a predictable experience so that people aren't like getting upset. Not everyone loves to do the sleuthing thing, so they don't have to do the sleuthing thing and figure out what's going on, how is my piece being interpreted. And speaking on that, in Squidmar's recent video about his like encapsulation of the event, they really have one main critique of the Golden Demon event, and that is that, like, you know how like toward the end of the event when judging happens, they start to organize the pieces on the shelves, and like the pieces that are up for consideration to get a golden kind of float to the top, other ones float to the middle, and some go to the bottom. And so like they totally. And also the stickers are another indicator earlier on in the show about what's going to win something or not win something. And those stickers, according to them, and also I've seen this at our own shows, cause a lot of heartbreak, a lot of panic and pandemonium, and also remove a lot of mystery about who's going to win. And so they were saying, pick a lane. Either be fully transparent with what the stickers mean and what you're doing and be super clear about who's going to potentially win and who's not, or keep it a total mystery so that at the award ceremony, it's big and hype, everyone's there. You know, if you know you're not going to win, you're probably not going to go to the award show probably. And so if there's total mystery, everyone's going to show up because people don't know what's going to happen. And so I see what they're saying. They're kind of in a middle road. They haven't picked a lane. And I'm curious what you think of that.
I don't like the idea of you going in there with false hopes, going to the awards, having zero clue if you were even in the commended, so in the running.
Okay.
Let's say there's 6 people that are in commended. I don't like you not knowing at all, because that means the energy of that room is going to be far more negative than it is if you understand.
Okay. You're getting the heartbreak in early.
Right. And I think that heartbreak should be ripping off the Band-Aid at whatever point they decide to do it, that like this top row are all the commendeds, you know, at some point, whether that's, you know, Saturday afternoon or evening, if the awards are on Sunday, you just know. So you know that. I think that's helpful, because, you know, I've been there before where, you know, I didn't get actually, I don't know if I ever haven't gotten commended. Yeah, sorry. I've always been bridesmaid, up until this year. But like having the false hopes, and we've been there with our other friends and stuff or whatever, where they're like getting that letdown of like, wow, I really thought I was going to be in the running, and then I didn't. And then working through those emotions there, instead of when they don't call my name to stand up, that whole room is bad juju. You know, that's my opinion. I think you should say that. But you are right that like trying to fucking read the tea leaves with the stickers thing, and I'm still not even certain that there's any certain sticker that means one thing or another that relates.
They change it, right? Don't they change it?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Because one of the stickers means fragile piece.
Yes.
Like, you got to be careful because shit's going to break. You know, and it's never stopped them from breaking my stuff before. But but in theory, it should. But there's another drama. They broke pieces at Golden Demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever, man. I'm over it. But yeah, I think it's healthy to give people clarity, but again, you're right. It needs to be well communicated and very clear, and none of that stuff is done. It's almost as if the marketing team or whichever team is in charge of all the public information and the revealing of things and the clarification of things is not the same team that's there at the event, or they're loosely connected, because if the people that were in charge of sharing things and making it clear to the participants and the fair goers in general, they would learn, and these guys are hearing this stuff, right, from the Golden Demon like team that's there. They would hear it, and then it's easy for them to act on it. And it's not a heavy lift for the amount of work that probably would help. But it feels like the people that are in charge of saying this stuff aren't actually their boots on the ground that can, like, we see it, we feel it, it's in our our brain matter. We can act on it easily. We make notes for the next one to make those things. We're not seeing that, event over event. And I think it's a breakdown in communication is the reason why internally.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of does seem like there is no ownership, really. Or, it's kind of like when people showed up to do that thing for Horus Heresy at the what's it called? Warhammer World? Yeah.
Yeah.
It just felt like there were missed opportunities, like a very basic one being having people's names next to the armies they painted in their YouTube channel on a little placard,
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, and what that kind of stuff happens when, like, one person is doing all the work, right? Or, like, it's unclear what people's job should be. And that's kind of the vibe I get from Golden Demon very often, is that maybe it's one person who's, like, pulling all the strings, or, like, just no one's really kind of, like, taking ownership and leadership over the process, or given ownership to make those choices. And so it kind of just seems like a lot of stuff is kind of half-baked a little bit,
And I mean, we know some of the Games Workshop staff that are there for Golden Demon. We see the same faces, we're on first name basis. They're all good people. I like them all. I stand behind their passion and what they do, and that they really do a lot of work.
Yeah.
This is not pooping on any people, including the judges. Like, I have come full circle of how I feel about the judges. Is there room for improvement? 100%. But I feel like they truly do care and give their all. I don't think that in every situation, though, they are empowered as employees to allow the thing to be the best it could and to use their experience and their learning from events to make quality of life changes. And that's where a lot of, some of the frustration comes in, is from that. And so it's tough because it's a big thing. There are a lot of fucking moving parts in this thing, and sometimes it's just like they're just trying to keep the goddamn train on the tracks.
Yeah.
The sheer number of entries, the sheer number of traffic, the sheer number of pieces to judge, the sheer number of the weight of what this thing all means is overwhelming.
And it's just gonna get bigger, Like, we're in the day and age of content.
Yeah.
Like, there were several large channels making videos about this event. Squidmar being one, Zumikito being one, Trevarian being one, Suggs being the other one. Like, they all made video. I think several videos even on, like, a series of Golden Demon videos. So the IP of Golden Demon is growing and getting even bigger, and it kind of feels like it's too big for GW's britches every once in a while.
Yeah, they need to invest in it in manpower.
I think they need to figure out a way to monetize it. I think there isn't going to be a reason for them to invest manpower in it unless there's some kind of financial incentive.
I would pay to enter. I would pay.
How much would you pay?
I would pay. I actually like the idea of actually paying per piece too.
Okay.
I think that's good.
It makes you really think about what you're going to put in.
Yeah, there is a downside with that, right? Where it's just like, it has to be where it's like, I want to put this in the case, and I want to, I just, want to get in there, and you do not want to gatekeep for people's first competitive experience. So if the dollar amount of entering would stop someone from entering their first piece and getting inspired and getting excited by seeing it in the case and seeing people's other amazing works that make them push themselves, that's where the downside I can see to charging for it, because this kind of competition and even painting as a whole lives and dies by new blood. And so you do not want to discourage that at all. However, I would pay for every young blood's entry. I'd be like, whatever it is, count them all up. I'll pay $10 a pop for all of them. I would do that because I don't want kids, and maybe you don't charge for Youngbloods. That's a
right.
simple
You
thing.
wouldn't charge for.
But I was
for
like
that.
$10 a piece.
Okay, so I'm going to push back on that a little bit just for the sake of conversation. And also, I don't know if I necessarily agree, but let's say there are 500 entries in Golden Demon and you pay $10 a piece. And so GW is making $5,000 an event for that. And there are 4 Golden Demon events a year, so that's 20 grand for Golden Demon in the year. I think that is a drop in the massive ocean of what GW is able to earn. So that kind of money is like not worth it.
Yeah. You say you make $1 billion a year.
Yeah, exactly.
And
right?
this $5,000 I don't know.
Well, if it could pay for a person to own it and like actually do well, maybe that's what it is, right? They're not making money, but they're not losing money, right?
Here's the thing. You are 100% right. It does not matter. It shouldn't matter. It's not what. It shouldn't matter to this company at all. My whole reasoning behind saying charge $10 a piece is if that is the catalyst that gets the payment for the staff's time, for the staff's flight, for the expenses, all that, if it pays for them to be there, so they get the appropriate amount of staff, appropriate amount of judges. Because I think they're at their cusp of, let's say they have 3 judges now, I think that's probably safe to say, to double that number.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, and like pay for like legit people to fly out and heavy metal staff to fly out. So the question actually that is, I think, a lot more compelling is, would you be willing to pay $10 an entry if that meant the quality of life of the entire event increased? And I think I would.
Yeah, I would also pay more taxes to the government if I knew quality of life would increase.
Sure.
But we all know that direct correlation doesn't often happen.
Yeah.
That's you're paying for hope. And
might be the same kind of thing with GW and Golden Demon, though, a little bit, right?
It is. Yes, it exactly is. It's like I'm paying my $10 in hopes.
Yeah.
Now, if they could break down like the reasoning why, it's like we're charging $10 and here's why we're doing it. Because with that, we can double the amount of judges that we bring over and all their expenses and ensure that you get the most eyes on your piece and that every piece gets its good, thorough shake and chance to see all the intricate amount of work that you did and the hundreds of hours that you put in, that we want to respect that and we want to have enough people there to ensure that everybody gets their time. Then 100%. Now, if you're saying that GW can't afford that without that $10 a model, you're full of shit because they absolutely can.
Right.
If it's a priority. It's not a priority in their business model. And now maybe all the exposure that are getting from Golden Demon, from content creators, by the sheer number of more entrants, by the growth that Golden Demon has had since it's come back to the U.S. specifically, and we can tie that to the worldwide things as well. But like it is, and I'm so happy for it that it's grown. But with growth, with great growth comes great responsibility, I think Uncle Ben said.
Absolutely. And like, don't get it twisted. Like, Golden Demon makes them money. It's just not obvious, right? Like, John made an entire series on making a Golden Demon piece, which if you totaled all that viewership, probably was between 500,000 and 1 million views of YouTube views. And that's just one person's series. Mm-hmm. And there are many other. And that's just YouTube. That's not the images of the models that then go into articles, that go into White Dwarfs. They are making money on this event. It's just like not obvious to them, or they've allocated that money elsewhere in their company already. And I'm assuming it's hard to move stuff around.
Think about we don't have hard data on this, but think about the amount of clicks that they get on the winners, and then even later now the commended, when they release those articles on Warhammer Community and they have all the pictures and the breakdowns. I would say that that's the amount of clicks that they get on that site just for that one article probably is more than they get for all their other things in a quarter.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean,
it's so hype, right?
It's so many eyes are pushed to that one page, and there's a lot of value to it because you get those. As shitty as the GW photos are, and that's a wild thing too, that if you've never seen these pieces in person or you've never seen the actual good photos that the artists post themselves on Instagram, the quality of the artwork is way better than you actually think it is by looking at the GW photos. But
they do okay.
They do okay.
Yeah, I don't think the photographer is too bad.
They're a C+.
I would give them a B plus.
No, they're so blown out.
Sometimes they love the white background, that's not always the right thing for a model. Very often it's not the right thing. And also they don't always get the angle right.
Yes.
But they're still good pictures.
They're often blown. The color is blown out, I think, quite a bit as well. Like even, yes. But either way, yes, I agree. They're good. They're absolutely serviceable, and you can see that their things are amazingly painted. Yeah. So they're probably in the give a C plus, B minus. And I'm not a good photographer, so don't ask me to do it. But they get so much traffic from it, and it's just brand building. And I think one of the things that they have learned and is kind of core to their business model from a high level is how to position themselves to spend the minimum amount of money to get all this amazing amount of marketing, and that's what keeps their bottom line so beautifully in the black.
Yeah.
Is that they're not, quote unquote, wasting money on things that most companies are spending millions of dollars a year on in marketing.
Yeah.
Think of how many millions of dollars a year they don't spend on marketing because of all the things we do for free for them, and for all of the things like Golden Demon that just build all this buzz, and like these tournament reports and all these other things that have nothing to do with them, but they're just straight on free advertising for the company. And that's a big thing. At some point you have to they don't want to break the dam, right? They don't want to say, oh, we're spending here. But this is all internal. Golden Demon's all internal, and they're not going to have to share those figures with us. And they do have to justify it at some point up the ladder, but they've got a lot of data now to justify it.
Right.
You know? And it's like, if we look at the percentage of money that we're putting into it compared to eyes or views or exposure, we're it's a drop in the bucket of what we're spending as opposed to what we're getting out of it. I find it really hard that people aren't going to sign off on that. But
yeah, I think my problem, going back to what started this conversation about paying $10 an entry, is this, that I just don't trust corporations to do the thing they should do, right? So and the thing is if it goes up, it's never going to go down. It's never going to go down. Like Taco Bell 5-layer beefy burrito, that thing in 2005 cost 89 cents. What does it cost now? $4. Is it ever going down to 89 cents again? Or whatever I said? No, absolutely not. So if they hear this podcast and they're like, oh, we can charge $10 an episode because John said he'd pay for it, they'll do that, and they'll add on one judge. They'll add on the barest visible improvement that is look, we did it, and it's and then we're not gonna feel it, and then it's gonna feel bad, and then it'll never go back, And so that's really what I'm scared of, that they're going to take that idea and run with it and invest the minimal amount of improvement just because we live in a capitalist hellscape, and that's just how things work nowadays, and it makes me sad.
Yeah. I'm willing to spend money for the betterment of this experience for all the contestants. And
if it improves.
Right. I would actually, and I've said this before in jest, I don't know if I ever said it on the camera, but I've said it before, and I will say it again here. I will pay for the flight and for the hotel and for the food for an heavy metal team member to come do Adepticon and judge. And I will do that. Actually, maybe I don't want to do it this year because I have a piece entered, but I will do that and then not enter Golden Demon, so there's no worry about there being shadiness, because I think it's so important. I would spend my own money because I think it's so valuable, and that would ease so much of this. Max Falage, bring him out. Max, I will pay for you. I'll buy you cheeseburgers.
Okay.
And beer. And because it is not about me. It's about this thing is so cool, and I hate all the negativity around it, and it's going to happen. You can't avoid it.
Yes.
People love drama.
Yes.
When you don't win, it's so hard because this is a subjective art matter. It's so tough.
Yeah. I think that's a really, I don't know if we want to end the conversation there, but that's a very important thing to remind everyone of. There are 3 people judging hundreds of pieces over the course of 2 days. Even if they worked 24 hours a day, it wouldn't satisfy people because someone has to win and the majority have to lose, right? And so there are going to be hurt feelings. The task at hand is impossible as it is. So it's tough. It's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah. The one final thing I want to talk about, and here's some some true drama that I will pitch my tent in the sand on. That just
that really fell apart there.
no,
Pitch my tent in the sand on with 4.
I just wanted people to picture me putting my dick in the sand.
Yeah, you're drawing a line in the sand with your dick.
Yes,
okay,
that's it. This is dick sand. This is it. Okay, so I forgot what I was gonna say. Shit.
You're just imagining getting sand in your urethra.
Sandy. Oh, my sandy pea stick burns. Okay, so how was I going to start this? Okay, so when they brought in this system of the commended, the finalists, the notable, right? I don't think what they realized they did is they opened up a can of worms, because now you're under more scrutiny, not of who won the demon and who didn't, or who got to the final 5 and who didn't, but this is what we're seeing a lot of the drama around, of who got into those lower categories and who didn't. So you have more spots to poke a finger at to see that this whole thing is a facade and that it's not consistent, and that Richard Gray's fucking Eldar thing.
That's so crazy, bro.
Like, it didn't even get a finalist pin.
Yep.
It was just like fucking ridiculously, amazingly painted, maybe one of the top 10 painted pieces in all of Golden Demon this year, and didn't even make it to the second rung. So, because you're breaking this down further, you are now exposing the true issues at hand of the whole judging process.
Yeah.
And we have it confirmed how at least some of these steps work. They divide everything up, each of the 3 judges, and then I've got a pile, Scott's got a pile, Vincey V's got a pile, and we put them into 2 categories. Does it move on to the next step, or does it not? And so you are completely at the mercy of which of the 3 judges gets to see which pile you're in, how experienced they are, what they're looking for, what are their bias, both conscious and unconscious, and what do they know makes a subtle, hard, difficult to achieve situations in your painting, in which are pushed in your face and like vibrant and over the top, but doesn't necessarily equate to skill level or a better painted model. And you don't have another person with you to get these separate points of view to really make sure that the piles of the haves and the have-nots are accurate. Once you get to a certain level, I think it's when you go from finalist to the commended, then they working together. I don't know at which point they go from separate to divide and conquer to work as a team, but there is at least one, possibly 2 steps where these are just one person. And when they each have hundreds and hundreds of pieces to look through, it's very likely you just got hosed.
Yeah.
And that is scary. That is so scary. It should not fall to one human's eyes for 20 seconds. I don't know how long they look at each piece, but it can't be very long. We did the math on how much time they have, we start the clock when they all go in there. We stop the clock when they all come out. And then you divide that by how many pieces they looked at. It can't be very long.
Yeah. I think they should do it as the pieces come in. I feel like as the pieces come in, the judges should be there. They ingest them. They get the form filled out. They hand the piece off to a judge or 2, if they're all just there. And then they can all look at it really quickly and then make a determination. Is this going top shelf? Is this going bottom shelf? Or is this going middle shelf? Let's just divide it right away, right in the beginning as we get it. And then it's less of a bear, It's less of a, okay, now all the pieces are in and we're going to have to go through all of them as new ones are coming in. They probably couldn't keep up, at a certain point they wouldn't be able to keep up. But that'd make it easier, I feel like. It would divide the steps in the process less, I feel like.
Yeah, it keeps you less from the old drinking from a fire hose situation. And I think to me, one of the most interesting aspects of the drama that this year that really showed at Spiel was that the amount of pieces that are like finalist pin quality and above was massive. Was just a sheer number of amazingly painted pieces was unlike anything they've seen. And that's where the minutia really, I feel, kind of was their downfall. They couldn't keep up with really figuring out, because everything was so good. It kind of was like a level of overwhelming of the judges. And I would have loved to be a fly on the wall to just see how that worked. And they had Roman the Pot there.
Yeah, they had motherfucking Roman the Pot.
There is no single human being on the planet that I would rather have judging than that man.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that even when you have the juggernaut of painting wizardry and knowledge and years of judging and just so well refined in his understanding of the art form, it's just too much.
Yeah.
He had to clone himself 5 times, and then this would have gone smoothly.
Yeah.
And it's not, and this is also not a dig on any of the other Games Workshop employee judges. I don't blame any of them. I think they just need more of them. They need to be able to be set up to do their job successfully, and I don't think that they are. And if you, me, and Vince were the 3 judges in charge of the Golden Demon, we would have failed as bad or worse than they did because of the time constraints and the amount of pieces. You can't get it 100% of the right on all of these. When you look at a competition like Nova, each of the different tiers, whether it's like novice, intermediate, and advanced, or novice, advanced, and master, I can't remember which one you go into, they have 3 judges for each of those levels. And for every single piece, every judge looks at them together and they talk through them together. And so what you can do together in 30 seconds is much more valuable to put the haves and the have-nots from the very get-go. And sometimes it's going to be really quick, and sometimes there's going to be a small discussion or an argumentation on there or not. That is so vital that you have every person, every piece gets multiple perspectives at the stages.
Right.
And they just can't do it. They can't do it in the time and the bodies they have. And to me, that is, if you want to, the true drama of this whole thing, to me, lies exactly in that one bottleneck.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's definitely true.
You want to talk about Vincey-Con now that we...
we've solved the world's problems.
The world's worst golden demon ever. Most drama. Wah, wah, wah.
It seems like it's the most dramatic just because there was more content made for it than I think prior ones. Or maybe that's not true. I don't even know if that's true. It just feels that way.
Listen, if there's going to be a golden demon, there's going to be a Treverian video.
Yes.
Where he recaps and tells them why everything was wrong and everyone was shitty and every piece was judged incorrectly.
Yes, we could definitely rely on that.
I love you, Trav, and I love those videos. We know what's happening. We're here for it. I'm going to eat that shit up like SpaghettiOs.
All right, on to Vincey-Con this past weekend. This past weekend?
Yes.
Okay, John and I traveled to Ohio.
Fucking days of the week and time are just totally out the window this since Vincey-Con.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
I'm all over the place. You get back, and I got back, and it was a Monday. You got back Sunday night, and it was just like, what day is it? Is it Friday this week? It feels like I was working, or... was, and it's like, I don't know, what day is it? Monday? Shit, fuck me, I got a whole weekend.
Yeah, it was rough. I'm glad I came back on Sunday too, because I had to finish a video because it was failing its render, and so I had to figure that out. And luckily, I had time to figure that out before Monday showed up.
And then it fucking crushed.
It was
worth
it. I should do more of weekend working. No. Okay. Anyways, yes, we went to Vince's. You got there a day early, or no? You didn't get there. You got there a couple hours early. I got there the same day as you on Thursday.
I was there probably like 4 hours before you, not that much.
Anything exciting happened in those 4 hours?
Well, when Vince
you exchange gifts?
No, fuck that. I think we're beyond that.
Why did I get a Vallejo case of paints?
Okay, there's a story on this.
Okay.
So, when I got there, sitting at my desk it's a Reaper starter paint kit, and it's a big old fucking looks like a toolbox, like the first toolbox you got when you went to college from your dad. Yeah. It's got like it's just the basic tools. If you need them, never used them in college, but you could have. Thanks, Dad. And it's a starter paint kit, and it's sitting on my desk. And Vince has this smirk on his face as I'm looking down at it, and I go, Vince, what the fuck is this? And he's like, that's your gift. I'm like, thanks. And then Adam and Sam are already there, and they're kind of smiling at me. I'm like, I'm not the first person who was given this gift, right? And they're like, they didn't say one way or the other. I'm like, I can't fit this in my luggage.
There you go.
And so then that gift got re-gifted across the table as each new person arrived.
Okay.
So then, Ben arrives. Ben and I came in at the same time, but he was upstairs like getting the house tour and stuff. So then it made it way to his painting spot.
Okay.
And then he went from his painting spot to your painting spot. And then we hid it in Vince's office before we all left.
That's awesome. Yeah, okay. I guess there was some kind of joke because I didn't know whether to be like gracious or laughing, but they handed me this box and they were all kind of like snickering, and I was like, all right. And I just kind of put it on the ground and then started painting my mandrakes. It's kind of like, okay.
I think Vince actually did mean to give it to me for he's like, oh yeah, I thought you use it for a video. But we're to our point in our relationship, friendship, that I can say, that's nice. Fuck you, I don't want it.
Yeah, I definitely don't need another set of paint.
It was like 2021 Vincey-Con. I would have taken it home. I would have had to throw away some Snickers bars and stuff to make room.
Yeah.
But not this year. Otherwise, I think we're beyond that. But I still like gifts.
Oh yeah.
But it's a struggle of I hate checking a bag.
Oh my gosh, yeah, screw that.
So yeah, we all got there roughly. They got there in the morning. Adam and Vince got there in the morning, because I think they got up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So they had already started painting. And I show up. You got to just kind of ease in, get your stuff set up and whatever.
Oh yeah, I heard you took a real slow entry into the painting.
Yeah, I didn't
giving you some shit.
I didn't paint it all on Thursday.
I love that.
No, and it wasn't because I was didn't want to or was just being lazy.
Settling in.
I was figuring out I wanted to get this video thing kind of figured out. Want to get a little momentum. I wanted to just be hey, you guys want to paint? And luckily, you guys were so nice. And we're up for it, because I was really nervous if people were gonna be it's kind of pulling teeth. I don't want to do this, and you probably felt that. I get that. I would be too. But once it got going, it was I was like, oh, okay. Vince knocked his out first. I got the interviewing stuff done, and once that momentum got rolling, and I was a little bit of weight off my shoulders, and I felt I can then turn some attention to painting. So that was kind of the reason.
Okay, yeah, you're mentally kind of locked into getting the video process going.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, I showed up probably midnight, 11:30, something like that. You guys came pick me up at the airport, and I just kind of got right into it. I was fucking airbrushing at 2 a.m, which Ben did not appreciate because he slept in that room. But yeah, I got right into it. I brought with me a 10-man unit of mandrakes, and then a 5-man unit of incubi that I had done the airbrushing kind of process in the beginning. And it was kind of mostly brushwork left for the end.
Which reminds me, we never actually got into what we painted.
Yeah,
but we'll be organically talking about what we painted, because it was what we did here.
There you go. Yes. Other than the one Easterling piece that I finished, you saw the work in progress last time, but it's now done. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and the video is, you go watch Scott's video about painting Easter
bunnies.
Yeah, Easter bunny, the Middle Earth game.
I think the first day when I was airbrushing, I was putting a gloss coat on the incubi that I then oil washed later that evening and then cleaned up the next day. And then I didn't touch those guys for the rest of the event, because I figured early on, I was I'm not going as fast as I thought I would. I think last time I showed up with a 10-man unit of skeletons that was 85% done.
Yeah.
And that felt fucking great. I was boom, done.
Yeah.
And then I had a dragon, or I had a zombie knight where the rider was totally done, and the dragon was 70% done. And I fucking bashed that out. And I was like, hell yeah. And then I got into painting a 5-man unit of blood knights, which were fully assembled and primed, but that was it. And then I started that, and it was so slow going. And then I just painted one of the knights, and I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I finished that one thing." But I did not. I showed up with 2 units, 10% done, and it was holy cow! It was a lot harder to get through that whole process.
Yeah. We could talk about what other people painted too.
Oh sure.
So, Uncle Adam. So the full attendee list, and I think we're at max capacity.
Yeah.
At Vincey-Con.
We're gonna
There's
someone
6
needs to
dudes.
die in order to get new people in.
Yeah, we had a whole conversation of, in your will, you can pass on your ticket to Vincey-Con to a person, and it has to be a specific person. And then we went around and made funny jokes about who we would send in our stead that would annoy the other people the most. And we're not going to say the names of who those people are, but no, it was pretty obvious. That was great. So it was me, you, Vince, Uncle Adam, Sam Lenz, and first-time attendee, Ben Cantor. And we talked. So the last night, it was just me, Uncle Adam, and Vince. We were the last three there. We were the only ones that stayed over from Sunday to Monday morning. And then we had to leave at fucking ass crack of dawn for a 10:30 flight because Adam had to check a fucking bag.
You're sitting over there with your fucking what is it? Not the Easy Pass. What's it called?
Yeah, the
pre-check.
fast.
Yeah, the pre-check. Yeah. And you can fucking roll up like 30 minutes before.
Don't even stop my stride to get on the plane. Because we were on the same flight, which was nice to hang with him. And I really like Adam. I like when I get to spend one-on-one time with him because he's such a cool dude.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, we were talking about on Sunday night when everyone else was gone about Ben, and it was like, you have to have a small council meeting about the newest member, and I was like, I really liked Evan Ben here. Like I really like he's so. There was a word that we used lovingly many times to describe him, and it was neurotic.
Oh yeah,
and he's such a neurotic basket case in the best, most lovable way. Like he's so like happy and high energy, which is not like it's not how like in a bigger setting and conventions and stuff see him as much, especially because he's teaching oftentimes and whatever. But it was just he has such a fun energy, and I'm so glad to have him there. It's a totally different personality than all of us, but he melds so well. So
yeah, he can definitely hang for sure.
Yeah,
and you're right. He has a very unique personality. He made some comment about like, he has I don't know how to describe it, but it's like a very self-sacrificing approach to the hobby. It's like not about like enjoying the process or anything. It's about like getting the best outcome at all costs, right?
He's a masochist.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a masochist. And like that comes out in other forms like in his life, and it's it's kind of funny when they come out, but it makes for great conversation. Like we got to do a Patreon thing with Vince, and some of his patrons asked questions, and like I feel like more often than not, Ben was always the contrarian. He always had like a different take on the answer, and it was kind of woven into his masochism a little bit, or like how he likes to approach the hobby. But yeah, he's a cool guy.
Because as you approach a lot of things, it's about being welcoming and breaking down barriers for people in the hobby of like, just find a way to get paint on mini, and there's a lot of that kind of talking, and I think that's a very important thing. So
right.
You want people to be active in the hobby, you need to make it approachable, and Ben is like,
fuck that.
No.
Yeah.
You need to do this while sitting on a bed of coals.
The question was about how to learn NMM, and we were like, my advice is, okay, start with a model where it's like you're painting the sword, and then paint a model that has like shoulder plates. And Ben was like, no, paint a full knight in shining armor for your first attempt and spend 300 hours doing it until you fucking nail it. And it's just like, oh my God, okay, that works for a certain kind of person.
Yeah.
And Ben's that kind of person.
He is that kind of person.
Yeah.
I appreciated him being there as well because like he was also going through the Golden Demon grind because I worked on my Golden Demon piece. Alex can show pictures right now of what I worked on with my Vizix Prophet of the Great Horned Rat. That was the other reason it was so slow for me to start was like this is the first time I put paintbrush on a massive Golden Demon piece. So it's like the starting is always so hard for any project, especially when you put so much weight on it and like not screwing it up from the get-go and really wanting your first things to be really building momentum and excitement and feeling positivity about the direction of this piece.
You're making palette choices that are going to impact the entire model, and you're not at your painting desk.
Yes.
You're somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's stressful.
That's stressful, dude. I wouldn't do that. I feel like I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it was stressful, and I brought 6 paints with me.
Six paints, wow.
Yeah, well,
I brought 0 paints because I didn't give a fuck about what I was doing, really. But
and I'll say this, for Vince having a lot of paints, there are so many vital, obvious paints he doesn't fucking own, and it drives me batshit crazy.
What's one of them?
He owns like 3 Games Workshop colors. And sometimes I just need a fucking Doom Bull brown, Vince. Sometimes I need a Scrag brown, Vince. Sometimes I need an Averland Sunset, Vince. And he doesn't have any. He does not own the Too Thin Coats range. See previous argument. Those are like GW as many color, matchers, but they're smoother and they work better. He owns like a dozen AK 3rd Gen paints. If he only had the full AK 3rd Gen line and no other paints, I'd be happy as a fucking clam. But he doesn't. He's got the new Fanatics range, so this year was an upgrade to previous years. I'm like, I'm not fucking using Scale 75, Vince. I'm not using 14-year-old Vallejo, Vince.
He's got a lot of paint. Like, you go into his office, his walls are lined with paint. He's
got fucking rookie numbers, Vince.
Rookie numbers.
Let me tell you this right now, brother. You need to up your game, friend. We need to make sure that he backs the P3 thing, because I need Vince to have all the P3 colors. That's what I brought. I brought new Formula P3, and so that head that I painted was almost entirely in the new P3 range, and it's fucking beautiful.
Nice.
So Ben was also working on his Golden Demon piece. And so having another brother there, like just cranking out what has to be
struggling along with you.
Yeah, and just fighting through it. And it was so wild seeing Ben's painting process. It is like seeing a unicorn in the wild. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. Why is this here? Why are you doing this? How do you do this with this fucking vulture grip? You, Vince, and Goobs need to get together and fucking break your hands with a hammer and then reforge them anew to look like a human hand.
Yeah.
Because they don't look like human hands when
also,
you paint.
On the other side of the coin, Ben owns 12 paints total or something like that. Some incredibly low amount. And the ones he brought to paint with were almost entirely inks and a couple of fluo paints. And so he'll paint with a white to black undercoat and then he'll color it with inks. And it's just like, dude, who the hell does that? That is that takes so much longer than like just starting with the color, Like I see honestly, I don't really see the value of like painting in that way. It seems like it's just more difficult. But he does it and it makes it work.
I see his reasoning behind it in that you really want to make sure that you get all of because he works incredibly atmospherically. There's a lot of like pure blacks on his pieces or very, very dark tones. And it's a very dramatic lighting to ensure he gets consistent, accurate lighting across the whole piece, that is from step one done correctly. And then the color is built up off of that. I get that. I feel like once you have mastered that, which he obviously has, you just go to doing both of those steps together.
Kinda, yeah. Also, my question is like, how do you reliably make corrections? So once you've put your zenithal undercoat down, which he does with combination of probably a paintbrush and an airbrush, and you want to add color to it, it's like, okay, I'm going to add green to my my shirt of my dude. Okay, now I have a green shirt and it's lit nicely. Now I want to adjust the shirt. I want to adjust the highlight and the midtone and the shadow independently. How do I do that? Like, what color do I use? I don't have that color. That color is like literally a one-of-a-kind color because it's dependent on how bright your undercoat was, how diluted the ink was when you applied it, how much of the ink you applied. Like, it's like not replicatable. You can absolutely get close. And is that what he's doing? Is he mixing a color that's close to that to make adjustments?
And he does a lot of stippling on those to kind of have like this almost camouflage blend through dots to do that.
It's not about matching it perfectly. It's about accenting it, I suppose. Okay, yeah.
And I have, with 100% certainty, if Ben was sitting here, he would have retorts and he would
have the exact answer to these questions.
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
He is certainly not wrong in his approach. He is very thoughtful.
Yes.
And so he's got a reason for all of this. We're just from an outside perspective saying that his reasoning is dumb. It's not dumb.
No.
He's got a way that's totally unlike the other 5 of us that are there, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
I think all 5 of us, the way we approach stuff is completely different than the others, and it's so fun. And that really showed itself to me as an outside viewer of recording and seeing you guys work on the project I had you all work on together, which was someone described it. Drew, last night when Drew was over watching shows, he was like, "Oh, so it was a game of painting telephone."
Kind of,
game of telephone, right? Where you say a message and then they hear a message and then they re-say it to the next person. But you're painting and you're just like trying to get the message just through paintbrush strokes. And seeing you guys is how you do things, and even your approach on the same model, it was so eye-opening. And the video ends, the last quote before the outro is your statement about what you've learned, is that there are so many different paths that can result in a great mini, and worrying about picking the right path isn't the thing you need to concern yourself with. Your path can lead to a great mini. And that's awesome, which was a great, thanks for giving me that old.
I don't even remember saying that.
No, that final statement, because that really tied the room together. So that was fucking Ben. Vince painted like 70 models.
Yeah, Vince,
start to finish.
Yeah, he painted the witch horn bus start to finish, and he did it in like a classic Halloween scheme of purple and orange.
Before you even got there, he finished a small, a little bust that you said looked like the guy from Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh yeah. I did see that at the desk. You're right. And then he was working on something else that he then stopped. He was like prepping it, and then he moved on to something else. Yeah, he was moving around a lot. And then Adam was working on learning Tinkercad, a 3D design software. He was making a piece of terrain. Actually, I think 2 pieces of terrain. And then he ended the weekend by assembling some giants.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sam painted a display model from an upcoming Kickstarter that's going to be run by Andy Wardle. And I think he was also hoping that piece would be enterable in Monte San Savino as well. Yeah,
so Sam spent a lot of time, but I think he basically painted that thing start to finish in that weekend. It looked phenomenal.
Yeah, he had this really wacky color for NMM gold that I freaking loved. I loved how like it's like someone took the saturation slider on a picture of gold and just like cranked it. Like the shadows and the midtones went so orange, and I just thought it looked really weird and awesome. I really liked it. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was like a really bright. It's like if you were thinking the color of what a burnt umber is in your head, like a reddish brown. Yeah, it was like that, but like super punchy orange.
Yeah,
but still had that umbery tone to it, and then it just went up to like screaming yellow, and it worked. Especially in his color scheme was largely more neutrals and some more cold tones, and then that gold was like whoa.
Yeah,
so that was great. You spent a lot of time on the wild and wacky world of mandrakes.
Yeah. I want to talk about this in the extended portion of the podcast about like how I am breaking all traditional army painting rules and also my own rules when painting this unit. Like I just kind of threw caution to the wind, gave them super orange lava skin, vibrant blue, magical flame effects, teal, white hair, super dark brown, like skirty bits. I don't know, like it's kind of all over the place, and there are parts of it that I really like and parts of it that I'm not super big fan of. But it's all things to kind of take forward and learn. I'm curious, when you look at this guy, and don't necessarily pick it up, just look at it. Can you see something wrong with this model?
Something wrong? Like in the painting or?
Anything.
No.
No?
I think he looks great at the table. Like, he's going to look great at the tabletop.
Okay, great. I used an enamel wash on these guys' base, and I don't know if you know this, but whatever was going on in the AK one, but it takes forever to dry. I don't know what the deal is. It takes forever to dry, and every single time if I wanted to dry faster than 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know how long it takes. I applied it. I went and did some editing. I came back. It still wasn't fucking dry. If I wanted to dry it to look white and like awesome and dusty, I have to hair dry it. Is that the case for you?
So it's a enamel wash it's a lighter one that's supposed to look like dusty.
The dust one. Yeah.
That sounds to me like it's separated.
I shook it for sure.
There might be something in the bottom that's settled. That it's like solidified.
Maybe.
Sometimes enamels get that, even though they're not grainy, because that's something you look for if it's not well constituted. But they don't look grainy, but they're just because of all the pigment and stuff is on the bottom. You have a lot of the medium that takes longer to dry. That would be my guess, because in my experience from when I've had that is the reason why. But
anyways, where the story is going is I was just getting sick of waiting, and so I hair dried these models, and I got a little too close to this one.
you melt that sword? That's what I was looking at. I was like, that curve feels weird.
The sword is curved, and I was like, from some angles, it looks like a problem, but from the front, it's kind of like, that's just a curvy sword, right? And then it happened again. I don't think I noticed it.
And then it happened again.
On this one. That one's totally out of whack, too. But they're like curvy, weird scimitar, like Middle Eastern weaponry. And so it's kind of fine. You can't even really notice it, honestly. But yeah, that was a mistake. I've never actually melted a plastic GW model with a hairdryer before, but this is the first time.
Well,
I know the limit now.
Note to self, don't use a butane torch to fucking dry my minis.
I was literally like half an inch from the hairdryer, just fucking waiting and holding it there. I was like,
you weren't moving it? You weren't doing side to side?
No. And then immediately it was like, brr. I was like, oh shit! And it dried so fast. I tried to heat it again, but I was like, this is not a risk worth taking.
Oh fuck.
But yeah, they got all done. It's kind of funny. I'm like painting it. I'm like, okay, kind of still looks weird. And I kind of feel like it still looks weird up until I paint the base rim black. And then I paint it black, and then it kind of comes together a little bit. It still looks weird for sure, but that last final step does so much for me visually. I don't know why it does. Maybe it just kind of feels a certain way.
It's like putting the picture into a frame.
Yeah.
It just kind of cleans it up and shinks that side edge.
And the base has all kinds of like overspray on it and stuff. And so you kind of just get rid of all that visual noise. Yep. But I'm happy with it. I've already done some toy soldier playing with them, put them alongside my other Drakari. And yeah, they look weird. They stand out. That's the point. They're supposed to, but they still feel like they live in the universe of my Drakari. They still feel deserty and like the teal spot color that's blown up to a larger role in this paint scheme. It works with alongside the other dudes. Yep. And so it's okay.
Yeah, you don't. I think it's important over the course of a whole army that if you have certain spot colors or accent colors, that in some models it should be a larger portion, because it really does bring them together. If they all just have their tiny jewels, the bright red, it's almost like none of them do, because it doesn't show itself in greater proportions across the whole army some places. I think that's a kind of unit that will actually kind of hold the whole army together, because it's kind of over-exaggerating a certain aspect to make it stand out, but it reminds you that they all come together. So I think it's going to look, it's a great thing to have in that army. I think it's a really good unit to have. It's going to look cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed painting it and kind of like just doing some different things I've never done before. And so it's kind of fun to experiment in that way.
We also played some games.
We did two different games.
So we play tested Uncle Adam and Vince's new game. So we tried the co-op mode, the versus mode, where it was team me and Ben versus team you and Sam, and you kicked the living shit out of us.
We did not kick the living shit out of you.
Sure felt like it.
Literally, I know it did. It did feel like it, but it actually came down to the very last roll.
Yes.
And that very last roll did favor us. It was like we needed to roll 6 dice and pass like 2 of them with a 5-up roll or something like that. It was in our favor. But if we had failed that roll and our dude had died, we would have lost that game. So it felt really close. But yeah, up until that point,
it's a fun game though, man.
Yeah,
it's kind of like turning knobs and dials at this point. But like the overall parts of the game, I think are really cool. And then actually on Sunday night, when it was just me, Adam, and Vince, I played the solo version.
Oh, okay.
The co-op or solo play version of the game.
Did it feel very different?
I played the faction that you guys played.
Okay.
And I utterly decimated the AI.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't utterly decimate them, but none of my guys died.
Okay.
And I tabled them on like turn 4, I think. Okay. But learned a lot of really good things. And again, it was like small tweaks would have made all the difference in like working with the AI and that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure if we're supposed to talk about if there's a co-op mode, but I just did. You have no idea what the game is. You just know it's got a special secret other version of it now.
He's talking to himself mostly right now just to feel better about leaking information. Now who's the leaker, bro?
Bro, I thought you were supposed to be the leaker. You got the leaky valve in you.
I do.
So we played that. I also, before we get into the most important game we played, I also, Ben is working on this game.
Yeah. What the hell? You guys had a little powwow over there.
And Ben and I, it's a cooperative game. It's miniatures / card game. And it's fucking awesome. And I said, Ben, you need to finish this game, if not for anything else, just so I can have it. It's so fucking good. Have you ever played the video game Slay the Spire?
No.
Are you familiar with the game?
Yes.
It takes a lot from Slay the Spire, but it's like grid-based cards where you're going through a dungeon, and it's cooperative. And it's up to 4 players, but you can play it solo as well. And you're like fighting monsters, trying to find the exit, getting gear, and everything's in cards. So you're like, your hand of cards, goes through what you can do. And then as you play cards, you're drawing a new hand of 5 every turn. And so it's like, keeps it constantly fresh. You're building your decks through the spells that you get in between at the end of each room, and like buying things or whatever. So basically you're deck building for your build and honing your build. And there's a wide variety of different kinds of builds you can do and different classes you can play. And it has aspects of Magic the Gathering in it. It has aspects of, it's heavy in Slay the Spire, and it has some other like miniature war game aspects to it as well. But it doesn't really roll dice, because all the mechanics are then based on your cards and your stats and stuff. But, oh my God, it's so good. I'm like, you need to put more fucking work into this game, but it's really, really cool. And then we had some feedback. I had some feedback for him in my experience in playing RPG board games and stuff. And I'm like, here's exactly where I'd go from here, and what I've learned from other games, and what I think is going to hold up for this game scaling well, for it staying fun as you work your way through, because it's a whole campaign system. So really enjoyed that. And then what did we play?
We played Magic the Gathering. We did a cube draft.
Cube draft.
Which I heard you guys say that word before, but I didn't know truly what it was until we played. And so you guys had 3 Magic aficionados, yourself, Ben, and Vince, ready to rock. But there wasn't a 4th person, so I volunteered as tribute. I hopped in there and had a great time.
Yeah. So a cube, for those of you who don't know, is where you curate this stack of cards. That every card is in there kind of for a purpose, and there are different kinds of decks you can build, because there's a bunch of different themes and kind of things you can build, and then you make this cube, and then you draft out of this curated set of cards. This was a vintage cube, so it had a lot of old, powerful cards from the days of yore for Magic, and you drafted the biggest of them all.
I did. I got a Black Lotus in my deck, and I got a Mox Sapphire. I got both of them in my deck, and they were... Yeah, they're strong. They're good. They're useful.
You kicked the shit out of me with the Black Lotus game.
I did. I actually managed to take a game off John. We played a best of 3, so it was me versus John in round 1 and Vince versus Ben in their round 1. And I won our first game, and then you fucking dominated me 2 times in a row. I was like, is this going to happen right now? I feel like I just drew the perfect cards at the perfect time, right? So I was able to have a sequence of events that was planned out. My plan was to slow your game down while I got my big creature out, and then I wanted to duplicate it with whatever that one card was.
Vesuvian Doppelganger.
Yeah, and it did work out, but then it never worked out again.
you had 2 9/9s, but more equally as important, I think just the one would have done me in, was that you had counter spells and bounce spells. And so like my answers to your big shit, you're like,
Yeah, I had that. Yeah, the deck everyone hates. I had a blue deck. It's a lot of counter spells, and then green, so big creatures.
Yeah, and it worked. Yeah, you drafted a really good deck. Like you,
thank you.
I think you had, if I had to put my money on it, you probably had the best or the second best deck of the 4 of us.
I think I needed more low cost minions.
Yes,
like maybe some blue 2/2s or something like that. A little bit more of that. But yeah, I felt like it had like an identity. I think it was trying to do at the very least.
Yeah, you just need to stop yourself, because I was mostly white, a little bit of red, splash for some burn for a lightning bolt and a fireball, but mostly white weenie, just trying to run you over.
Yeah, and every turn you're fucking putting more fucking dudes out, dude.
Yeah, that was it. Like, because I never saw the power cards. I never saw a really powerful card pass to me. So I'm like, how you beat really powerful cards is you go underneath them. Before you can get your big shit, I want to get you dead.
Yeah, that tempo, right?
Yeah. I'm just trying to tempo you out. And then the guys kind of being able to stack with giving each other +1/+1s and stuff, and try to run you over before the late game, because I'm not going to win a late game.
Yeah, or the token spawn. Like if you didn't have creatures to play and you had mana to burn, you could generate like 2/2 tokens with some of your cards too.
Yeah, that was it. So then I played Ben for the finals because he beat Vince, and we went to 3 games No, we didn't. I beat him both games. Both were extremely close. But he had some crazy combo shit going off. And actually, my token generators were the only reason I won both those games, because he had a black enchantment out called the Abyss. At the beginning of each player's turn, they have to sacrifice a non-artifact creature. So if you don't have creatures, you're fine. So his was big defensive stuff, just didn't really care that much. And he plays that out, and I'm like, each turn, one of my dudes is getting killed, and I can't kill you fast enough. And the game was kind of to a stalemate, and I was like, I had to make a token every turn in order to defeat it, and then my other creatures could actually like get momentum. Yeah. And after a long game, I ground him out eventually.
Yeah.
As I played, he did that. I had like 4 creatures out, and then the next turn I cast Armageddon, destroy all lands, and I'm like, fuck you,
destroy all lands. Yeah. Oh my god, dude.
So yeah, he has like, I'm gonna play this thing to control your board, and then I'm gonna start playing shit. I'm like, no, you're not, because you have no fucking mana.
That is brutal, dude. Holy cow. I thought the Frostbite card that I had was pretty gnarly. It was cheap, you know, so you can kind of keep pinging people, I suppose. Yep. But man, what did that cost to play? What's the mana cost on Armageddon?
4 mana.
What the fuck?
So my play pattern with his deck in an ideal game was I go like, dude. That's my first 3 turns.
Oh, it destroys your lands too.
Everybody.
Oh, okay. I get it. Yeah, okay.
So by the time we get to turn 4, you have maybe 1 dude out. I have 4 dudes out. I reset the clock. Nobody has lands, and I've got more shit than you.
Yeah.
And my shit's all cheap. So as I draw 1 land, I'm probably playing a dude, and that's how that's how I was planning on winning.
Okay, yeah.
I never drew that card versus you.
Okay, thank God.
But, that would have been
That would have hosed my whole strategy, dude.
Yeah, but Ben did have Soul Ring and a Mox out, which is Soul Ring taps for 2 colorless, an artifact, and then his Mox tap for black.
And it's not a land, right?
Right,
so it can stay out. Okay, yeah.
So anyway, that was so much fun. I love playing Magic at those things too.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a different mind. It's related, but it's a sidestep. And so,
absolutely,
we played games. We watched some silly videos and listened to a lot of music too.
Yeah. That's actually something that's worth noting about Vince. And I think I noticed it more this year than ever. Vince loves to like show videos like that he's seen and that he has like gotten interest in, or go over a very like interesting topic that is like important to him. Like I think in a lot of way he communicates through like the videos he's showing us. And so he showed us a couple of like video essay style videos between 30 minutes and an hour long about a specific topic. And yeah, I didn't ever notice that like he likes to show videos, YouTube videos specifically.
Yep. And music. He's got
He's
got a wide array. I appreciate his musical taste because it's vast in things that he likes, and mine is similar in that, where I appreciate good stuff all across the spectrum. So
absolutely.
So that was it. We ate a lot of great food too. We actually had pizza this time that Scott approved of.
I should have never shared my opinion. No, it was good. It was thick crust. Like Vince had a place like he said 30 minutes away. You went with him, right?
Yeah.
Was it 30 minutes away?
Yes, 20 to 30, something like that.
Yeah, because you guys were kind of gone for a long time. But yeah, it was good. It was like, I wouldn't call the crust crispy, but it was like crunchy. It was like thick and crunchy, and it lasted in the car drive all the way home.
Yep. It
didn't steam itself out, and it tasted great. It was like solid pizza. Other than the fact that it was square cut. If you cut your motherfucking circular pizza in fucking squares, you're a psychopath. I don't care who you are. If it's a square pizza, cut it in squares. I get that. That makes sense. It's circular, cut it in slices. Please.
I think it was that. Would you consider that Detroit style? Not the cutting necessarily, but oftentimes Detroit style I think is square cut. But are you familiar with Detroit style pizza?
Yep.
That crust, would you consider that Detroit, where it's not thin, it's not pan crust, it's like in between?
Yeah, I would probably say that it's not necessarily that, but definitely on the way to it.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, I think Detroit style is a little bit more pillowy, a little bit like thicker even and bigger. And yeah, you're right. It's a rectangle pizza cut into squares, but it's on the way. You know, it's the evolution of it, I would say.
Yeah, it's Ohio. It's not that far.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
The pizza gets thicker the more north you get into Michigan. Yeah.
But then you go east and it goes thinner.
Yeah. I don't know.
And you go west and it gets shittier. So, and it was out of a fucking 80s movie, that goddamn pizza place. It had not changed probably since 1988.
Yeah.
It's owned by a family. 3 generations are working there. It's just kind of a little, it's a hole in a wall in that it was small, but it was in a strip mall, but you can tell like it was there since the very beginning. And it wasn't dirty. It was well kept, but it was unchanged. And they were just cranking out pies. There was the grandma and grandpa there, and I swear to God, they were 120 years old. But they just knew what the fuck they were doing. Every ingredient there was like, you tasted the sausage, you tasted the pepperoni, you tasted the sauce. Everything was like they made that in that room.
Yeah.
It was in that crust too.
It was good.
It was solid pizza.
Absolutely. Yeah. Talking about the Magic Draft remind me of a Preamble Ramble topic. I just did my first ever Star Wars Unlimited sealed.
Unlimited.
So I did that, which has its own process that was different than what we did, kind of. And I learned some valuable lessons, but that was exciting. I never actually like paid for cards to do a draft event.
That's another kind of like feels good. It's like, oh, I get these cards anyway. I'm paying for buying the cards, but I get to play some fun games with them.
Absolutely. And
it's
like
a good feeling.
Oftentimes the limitation requires you to play strategies that you would not normally do. And like in doing that, you kind of discover cards that you wouldn't normally use that you really actually liked playing with. That's what I found.
Yes.
And it was really cool. I really liked it.
Yeah, it's great because oftentimes in all card games, there are a number of cards that are like, these cards are just not as good as the other cards, so you never use them. And they're sitting in a stack at home and you'll never play with them.
Yep.
But when in a limited situation, it's like, this card gets to see some play.
Yeah, it has to be used, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my 3/3 elephant got to play the game. And it feels good. Yeah, and that's part of it that I think is kind of fun. And you all start the game at the even playing field, right?
Yes.
Everyone's got the same 6-packs, and it's how much strategy goes into building as it is in the playing. So
yeah.
I love that.
And very often, if you're doing it at the very beginning of a set being released, like no one's seen the cards yet, and it's all just like very fun to like get to experience like things you've never even seen before coming out.
Learn the mechanics and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I'm going to run and go pee real quick, guys, but there is actually a gift from the Vincey-Con that I'm going to give to Scott right now, because Scott went out of his way to spend 1 hour painting an Infinity model for my video. So I'm going to gift to him a new Hawk Islam Infinity model.
All right, what do we got here? He's going to go pee. We have Mokhtar. Okay, yeah, I love this. I think my favorite part about Hawk Islam is just how they're basically Fremen. My Dune simping continues to grow day after day. Still reading God Emperor of Dune, but yeah, I can't get enough of this shit. Welcome to the end of the podcast. We are running out of SD card space, so this is going to be quick. Also, I just keep slouching in my fucking chair, and I get closer and closer to the mic.
It's almost as if you need a FlexiSpot standing desk.
Maybe I do. We'll do the next podcast episode standing. We will not. Absolutely.
No.
I can't stand that long.
You guys want a 40-minute podcast? That's how you get a 40-minute podcast.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, we appreciate it. Let us know in the comment section below. If you like the channel and the podcast in its entirety and you want to support it, there are many ways to do that, both free and not free. You can find a lot of them links down in the description. One of those things is a Teespring, where we sell our merch, hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, pants, all sorts of stuff can be found down there. You can also join our Patreon, where you get access to an extended version of each podcast episode, about 20 to 30 minutes extra content, where we go over several things. We have 3 sections in the extended portion. One is where we are discussing painters that we love and looking at a new piece from them every single fortnight. We're also talking about new things that we tried out in the hobby, what experiments we're getting up to, and also we give feedback to one of our patrons as well. So as a patron, you can submit a model for feedback, and you can also submit a topic for us to discuss as well while you're doing that. But if you got no cash to spend, you can also just share our channel with your other nerd friends. You can give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also watch our videos on YouTube whitelisted. We play an ad every 30 minutes. You can give us a little bit of kickback at no extra cost to you in that way. And all of those things, subscribing, interacting, commenting, joining our Facebook group, spending money, they all help a lot, and we really appreciate it.
We love you, goody peepees. And we're going to keep on loving you a fortnight from now for the next episode. Until then, we'll catch you on the
Flippity flop.